Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, all things adjacent. Excuse me. I'm being accosted. Somebody's trying to bust through the door. Look out. Sorry I didn't have a video for y'all yesterday. I was reading some books to my daughter and I fell dead asleep. She fell asleep, I fell asleep. It didn't happen. Sometimes you just gotta go with what your body wants to do. And that's what I did. So here I am today. I'm gonna have a new little segment. Hopefully like a regular segment. A friend and follower, Michael Campy, has a blog called Way Past What the Fuck. And he's going to be doing a Monday, Dispatches from the Outback is going to be the title. Dispatches from the Outback. And so basically dealing with, climate change, extinction, the ridiculousness of our society, et cetera, things we like to talk about on this channel. I've talked to Michael quite a bit, and he is definitely one of the tribe, one of the members of the Black Bear News crew, the Get Fresh Black Bear News crew. Anyway, so I'm going to read his latest and greatest blog entry called The Rise of the Liar Class. So first edition of Dispatches from the Outback by Michael Campy. This is from Wednesday. This is Wednesday, December 19th. Today, two couples I have met in the not too distant past exemplify what I call the liar class. The first was a husband and a wife who live in Santa Monica. I asked them for a trash bag in which to put some old parts from their piano. They said they did not believe in plastic and kept no plastic in their house. This was said with a straight face. I looked around at their keyboards and computers and kitchen appliances, all made of plastic, and kind of threw up a little in my mouth. They were vegetarians. They grew some of their own food. They kept chickens for eggs in the yard. Parked in the driveway was an electric car. They didn't really want the Porsche to be in public view, so they kept that in the garage. The blind hypocrisy of how they lived was lost on them. They had fully embraced the lies they told themselves, and they could not be convinced otherwise. The second couple lived in a lovely house in Topanga Canyon. I asked them for some 409 or some Windex to clean their piano and was told, as in the other case, that they did not keep things like that in their houses. Products like that were bad for the environment. After they left, I asked one of the gardeners if they had any cleaning products around. Oh, si, senor. He led me about 100 feet down the driveway to a locked shed where he opened the doors, and I saw before me every imaginable toxic cleaning and gardening product, including a huge container of Roundup weed killer. They, too, were hard in the grip of the lies they told themselves and their friends. There had been a marked increase in the number of people I meet that would fit the liar class designation. These people have been documented before by luminaries such as Chris Hedges and Derek Jensen. They all share one thing in common, and that is the unwavering belief that they aren't doing anything harmful and are indeed doing everything they can to make the world a better place. What they are doing in actuality is the exact opposite. They are deceiving themselves into believing that their daily lives are not harming the environment, that they are deceiving themselves into believing that they are part of the solution, that they are deceiving themselves into believing that we can keep the party going and not hurt the planet. They are, of course, entirely wrong. They are what Derek Jensen calls bright green environmentalists. The bright green environmentalists probably drive electric cars. They probably claim to be against the use of plastics and will wholeheartedly endorse things like banning plastic bags and drinking straws. They may, on occasion, join in a peaceful march of some sort and then go for coffee afterwards to congratulate themselves for taking a stand. They probably belong to organizations like the Citizens Climate Lobby or Indivisible, where they can surround themselves with like-minded liars and pretend to be socially, environmentally conscious citizens. They probably drive the Prius or maybe even bike to the farmer's market each weekend dressed in khaki trousers or shorts, a natural fiber shirt, and a natty straw hat with a reusable grocery bag flapping in the wind and pretend to support local agriculture. Chris Hedges said of the liberal class, but he could just as easily be talking about the liar class, that liberals are a useless lot. They talk about peace, but do nothing to challenge our permanent war economy. They claim to support the working class and vote for candidates that glibly defend the North American Free Trade Agreement. They insist they believe in welfare, the right to organize, universal health care, and a host of other socially progressive causes, and will not risk stepping out of the mainstream to fight for them. The sterile moral posturing, which is not only useless but humiliating, has made America's liberal class an object of public derision. The liar class is part of the liberal class. They both go on at length about their commitment to justice and the environment and the state of the poor, and just as quickly turn their backs when something is actually required of them. They claim to want a better world, but that desire only takes a back seat to continuing their privileged and comfortable lifestyle. They are, as Frederick Douglass said, those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation, men who want crops without plowing up the ground. The liar class will go to great lengths to convince you they are on the righteous path. Their loud, conspicuous efforts designed to advertise how conscious they are. If they have not yet, I do not imagine it will be too long before they begin to take selfies with their gardens and fresh produce, or start Twitter or Instagram accounts of their loyal friends. And followers will be able to see what marvelous people they are. I don't take selfies with my plants, but I do take pictures of my plants. Just because I feel like, I don't know, it encourages people to maybe try some gardening. I don't know. I don't know if it's helping or not. Maybe it just makes me look self-righteous. I'm not sure. It's my opinion these people are worse than the right wing because the right wing doesn't pretend. The right wing have the strength of their convictions, however misplaced and wrong those convictions may be. The liar class lacks integrity. The liar class lacks conviction, and the liar class are steeped in the rhetoric of caring. The right wing is at least honest. The liar class will persist right up to the bitter end that they are trying to help, as long as that help doesn't ask anything of them. They will insist they are doing everything they can, even to the point of blatantly lying to their own children. They are capable of looking you straight in the eye and lying. So complete is their illusion that even when the obvious flaws and misconceptions are pointed out, they cannot see it. It is an all-consuming lie. They are in a state that Derek Jensen called cultural Stockholm syndrome. Indeed, they are so completely immersed in industrial civilization that they couldn't pull out if they wanted to, but they will never want to. As the world burns down around them, as toxins of every conceivable stripe float in the air and oceans and the water they drink, unless they own a plastic water purification device, as the poisons we all contribute by participating inundate the natural landscape and animals and insects die off at ever-increasing rate, the lie holds fast. The lie holds fast in the face of 200 species going extinct every day. The lie holds fast when cataclysmic weather events decimate vast swaths of the landscape. They will not relinquish their lies until the last moment, and even then they will say, "We tried," knowing that they never really tried and they never really care. There is hope for the liar class. The future, if there is one, looks bright. Job opportunities abound as liars are in high demand as politicians and CEOs of extractive industries like coal and fossil fuels. There are jobs in the city, state, and federal level. These positions welcome the liars and deceivers. They welcome those who can look in the mirror in the morning and embrace who they see regardless of what they see. The unfortunate fact is that the liars will triumph. They will succeed where others fail because lies hold so much more promise than the truth. That is pinpoint right there. So now the liar class can join the Christians, the right-wing ideologues, and the politicians on both sides of the aisle in their steadfast march toward the decaying corpse of this, the last and greatest of the big American lies. That was Rise of the Liar Class. I found that to be excellent. I hope you all did too. Hope you enjoyed that. There's a lot I want to say about that. I don't know if I have time to say everything I want to say about that, but indeed, on the way home today from the JOB, you don't really see like full-on hippies anymore. You don't see like full-on like earth goddess, super crunchy types. Not in LA. Like it's like techno hippies or hipster hippies or something like that. I don't know. They're just not really around anymore, and they're very, very shallow and vapid. And it's I know they're out there, but they seem to be dwindling. Like the real hardcore, like hippie types, seem to be dwindling, and they all actually understand that we need to work and have jobs and like have things and get things and own things and do things and be things and all that kind of stuff. So it's like they're in between these two worlds of like knowing that what they're doing is actually bullshit and full of shit, and doing it, and doing it anyways. How invested they are in that lie, I'm not really sure. Results may vary. Yeah, I mean, like the new techno future progressive class of people, they really don't want to give up the idea that we can like have everything and do everything and go everywhere and be rock stars and like be on planes everywhere and like go on vacations. Like, there are actually, a few out there. There are a few out there, but there's a lot of holes. It's hard. Moral absolutism is very difficult in this day and age. It would be nicer if people could live closer to the reality of what it is we need to be doing in order to possibly save the earth or save ourselves. I think a lot of people are in between. What it is they feel like they can do, what they should do, what they have to do. There's all kinds of like gray areas in there. So I'm going to move on to the next article. Yes, I don't know. I think the light looks a little better. What do y'all think? I think it's, I tried to get it a little bit better today. We're working on it. It's moving in the right direction, I feel like. But I feel like I'm gonna have to get myself into something like, kind of just for my space. My space is very like large and dark, and so if the door's closed and it's dark outside, it just sucks all the light out of the room. So I need some rather heavy duty lighting to actually like make these videos not look too dark. Hold on one second. One more thing I wanted to say about the article about the liar class. I mean, the liar class is definitely solidly the middle of the road liberal who thinks that if we just get rid of Trump, that everything's going to be great, right? If we got a Democratic president in office, everybody would be like, hallelujah. Oh my. Like when Obama was elected, there were like parties in the street, and it was a huge feel-good moment, for the US of A. And there's going to be a lot of people would just be like, oh yes, we're delivered, and like we can just go back to doing whatever we were doing and not worrying about it, which is kind of what ended up happening during Obama's tenure. Was that everybody was like, he's so great, no scandals, like nothing, he's like awesome guy, he's so cool, like very funny, very hip, very with it. And all the atrocities that were actually going on underneath, like nobody was tying the expanded oil drilling or expanded fracking or expanded drone strikes or expanded illegal deportation, migrant deportation, or what else is going on? The fact that there were so many extrajudicial killings by police and not much done about it under his tenure. There was the Dakota Access Pipeline, Standing Rock, that whole thing. Like nobody tied all that stuff to Obama and was like, what a jerk. They were like, these are problems. Obama, are you going to do, like, I don't know. Anyways. So if we get another Democrat in, I suspect that a lot of liberals will just be like, phew, we don't have to talk about anything anymore. We're good. So, which will hardly be the case, I'm sure, unless we get somebody really cool and radical. And again, if the next presidential candidate, any candidate who doesn't have climate change as their number one top priority platform position of their presidential campaign, is not worth listening to, is not worth taking seriously, should be shunned at all costs, should be not given any airtime, should not be allowed to speak anywhere unless climate change is first and foremost, What are you going to do about climate change? Where are we going to take our economy? What are we going to do to turn this around? Of course, you know, the chances of that happening are very long, but that's just my thoughts on that. There are politicians right now speaking about climate change quite forcefully, Bernie Sanders being one of them, Ocasio-Cortez being another. They're actually the main two. I don't hear a lot of other ones thumping the climate change very hard. But if Bernie Sanders runs, please, dear God, let him run in 2020. This is a good start for him. I mean, Bernie Sanders just has positions on positions on positions. He has platforms on platforms on platforms. No other, you know, you have other politicians just talking about like, we gotta do, you know, the same, like we're gonna economy and jobs, we're bipartisan, and we're gonna, you know, better direction, you know, just mealy mouth, blah, 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 you know. Bernie Sanders, daily, I see platform positions, Medicare for all, climate change, you know, just, he has bills in Congress. Here's a bill in Congress, stop the war in Yemen, blah, blah, blah. He's got that happening. You know, a politician who's actually doing something and, you know, putting his money where his mouth is. Gee, maybe we could vote for him if the media will let us, if the Democratic Party will let us. Possibly we could vote for somebody great. Okay, or greater. I'm going to move on to this article in The Guardian. This is from Monday, September 15th, Rethinking Prosperity, Exploring Alternatives to the Economic System. Was Monday the 15th? Oh, this is from September 14th. Holy moly. I like to read dates on my articles, but like before I read them online. Hold on. Well, I'm going to read this anyways. It's old. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Rethinking Prosperity, Exploring Alternatives to the Economic System by Joe Confino. Guardian Sustainability Business launches a new section delving into what it takes to create a more socially and financially equitable society that operates within ecological limits. So they've been working on this for a while. I wonder if they're still going 4 years later. If you want to understand why we are not making faster progress toward creating a more equitable society that operates within ecological limits, then it's worth understanding the importance of the void. Void. One of the core fears around our industrialized society, which we are largely refusing to face up to, is the belief that there is no credible alternative to the current global economic system, which is now undermining our prosperity and may even threaten our civilization. The current economic system has created great wealth and brought hundreds of millions of people out of abject poverty. Possibly we should be wondering why abject poverty is a bad thing. You know, people who live close to the earth, hunter-gatherers, indigenous tribes, they live in abject poverty by our standards, but by their standards, they're fine, right? They're like, we're good. If we can plant some plants or we can find enough to eat, we're good. Leave us alone with our abject poverty. But in its search for continuous growth, it has increasingly become a destructive force that is stimulating climate change, resource scarcity, growing inequality, and biodiversity loss on an epic scale. As the well-known fund manager Jeremy Grantham has stated, people simply do not get the point that you can't have sustainable growth forever. You can have sustainability forever or growth for a few years. Capitalism does millions of things better than the alternatives. However, it is totally ill-equipped to deal with a small handful of issues. Unfortunately, they are the issues that are absolutely essential to our long-term well-being and even survival. Hey, the collective failure to reimagine another pathway results in focusing our intellectual power on trying to prop up the existing system, even though this is akin to putting a plaster on a gaping wound. This is the sort of thinking that led the President Bush to urge Americans to go shopping more to help dig the country out of a recession, doing more of the things that helped trigger the crisis in the first place. In fact, our very addiction to consumerism, like all other addictions, is designed to avoid having to look into the abyss of our own lives. But if we are to restore some sense of balance to the world, it is vital we move away from the actions of the famous quote, spending money you don't have for things you don't need to impress people you don't like. With all this in mind, Guardian Sustainable Business is launching a new section called Rethinking Prosperity. The purpose is to showcase the vibrant community of academics, thought leaders, and practitioners around the world who are exploring systems change. These range from new initiatives such as John Fullerton's regenerative capitalism to organizations that have been diligently working on these issues for decades, such as the New Economics Foundation. They've been working on these issues for decades, have they? Well, where are the answers? While our gaze is to the future, we also recognize the need to keep critiquing the current system and looking for key intervention points which can be leveraged for change. We specifically avoided using the words economy or capitalism in the section title because we want to take a broad approach to the idea of prosperity and recognize that economic notions of prosperity can compete or interact negatively with broader societal objectives such as health and happiness. Besides engaging experts from the worlds of business and finance, we also see what we can learn from the arts, as well as looking at psychological and spiritual approaches to overcoming the issues we face. We want to ensure we do not focus on the industrialized North, but also see what lessons we can learn from the South. Anyways, well, this is all very fine and well. I'm not going to read any more of this article. What I am going to do is see if this is still even, is this still even going in The Guardian, I wonder. I'll bet you $3 it isn't. But hey, maybe it is. Sustainable business, The Guardian. Let's see. Oh, it's still going. Glory be. Let's see. The last post was from May 2018. So maybe it isn't going. Hold on. Why Silicon Valley billionaires are prepping for the apocalypse in New Zealand. Didn't I read this article? I think I did. I'm not going to read it. This is from 2018 February. So it looks like it's on the site, but it doesn't look like there's been any recent posts. So maybe it's just not getting a lot of traction. We'll see. This is from October 2016. Yeah, so sustainable business on The Guardian doesn't look like it's going very well. I want to read a comment to finish this video. And oh my gosh, I apologize. I didn't get the, here we go. Andy765 GTR. This is from Andy765 GTR. Regarding how many people's lives are worth sacrificing for the works of Shakespeare, the answer, going by our historical behavior, is not zero. It is any number that others deem acceptable to sacrifice. Morality is one thing, but might is right. We know this because people are only too happy to sacrifice any number for other intellectual causes, such as a nation, Christianity, capitalism, or communism, or just for the continued power of one person like a king. And that's totally right on, which is why I'm reading this comment. Exactly. When they were talking about that article being that, oh, we must save, saving a person was more important, but we're willing to bomb whole villages of people to take out, one supposed terrorist leader. We don't care about lives at all. We don't give a flying fuck about lives, about human life. We absolutely, it's absolutely zero. Yeah. Anyways, but we like to feel good about ourselves. And I'm just going to add the whole thing about Khashoggi being killed. Like, oh my God, Saudi Arabia, how could you? We're bombing people in Yemen and Somalia and Afghanistan and Libya and Syria and Iraq and Palestine, and like we're bombing people, just bombing people. We're just bombing people because it's well, that looks like a good place to go for it. But Khashoggi, oh, he was murdered. Oh, human rights violations. Shut up. Shut up, you fake assholes. Like, yeah, it's totally terrible. He was killed. It was really, really terrible. but we don't care. Like this whole like media, like, oh, liars, liar class right there. It is not suffering we cause animals that needs to be balanced with the worth of humanity. That is a distraction, in my opinion. Oh, hold on. I'm going to go back. In fact, human life is worth little or nothing when you look at our history. Obviously, I'm talking about what actually happens, not idealism. Today, we value individuals more than other, more important things. This sentimentality is a fault of our times and not a historical norm. Individuals are actually not very important. It is not suffering we cause animals that needs to be balanced with the worth of humanity. That is a distraction, in my opinion. A much more important issue is the continuity of a whole species habitat biosphere. It is a complexity, beauty, and intrinsic value issue more than anything else. Such things are beyond priceless and important. Humans are one species, a painting, in art terms. It is obvious hubris to consider ourselves more important to or better, a more important or better painting than even one other painting, let alone the whole art gallery of millions, which all took 4 billion years to create. Ask a mother what her baby is worth in terms of sacrificing other things for its survival. She is programmed to say everything. This is obviously rubbish, and we wouldn't let her get away with it. I don't think her baby is worth nothing, but if we are objective, we would need to take the decision out of her hands for the good of the collective. In the same way, the decision about whether human beings at large need to be sacrificed, not necessarily talking about human extinction here, as it's not necessary, also needs to be taken out of our hands for the good of the collective, due to our obviously vested interest in our personal existence, which doesn't necessarily have a lot of objective value to others. For the lack of the existence of gods, hopefully we, by that I mean some high ups, exist to do the right thing. Making the wrong decision will echo down through the ages, while doing the right thing will be quickly forgotten. At the end of the day, people, like individuals of any species, are temporary. We die in a few decades anyway. To sacrifice the eternal for the temporary is ridiculous, but we can also consider this in wholly selfish human terms. I think humans will survive collapse and global warming. To sacrifice the bulk of humans to save the biosphere, and we are going anyway, will possibly allow humans to experience the rich diversity and beauty of life on Earth for 1 million years or more. Interesting comment. I really like that. A lot to respond to in that, for sure. But yeah, I mean, like, it's, I don't know. We have this knee-jerk, we must care for humanity, or every life is sacred, or every human is sacred. And if you start saying that some lives are not as sacred as others, then obviously like big problems start happening. Because whose life is worth more than another? And that is actually the argument, like what life is worth more than the other. But the thing is that we do value ourselves much more highly than any other life on Earth. And that is knee-jerk. That's unspoken. Like nobody even has to say that. To even question that, like people would be like, what? I wrote something about speciesism on Facebook one day, and somebody was like, what are you talking about? Speciesism? Like, what the fuck? I mean, some people got it, but whatever. Yeah, it's just, that's one of those things that's just programmed into us from birth. Like it's very hard to deprogram from that thing that like we're more important, than a mountain lion or a coyote or a bear or a fish. We have a long way to go to deprogram ourselves, not just in terms of, our whole economic prosperity thing, but just our whole speciesist. We're all speciesist. We're all guilty of abusing the earth and other animals for our own welfare without even realizing it, without even taking it into consideration. Who is it? The Jains is a religion that it's very, just can't kill an insect or they value highly other human life. We should be learning things from them. We should be talking about, in the last video, I said something about people possibly sacrificing themselves in the name of the biosphere, or, I don't know if we need to sacrifice ourselves, but maybe we could sacrifice the idea that we need to live forever. Maybe we could sacrifice the idea that we need to conquer and destroy everything in our path, that we need to live with a certain standard of living or comfortableness. We could live really, really comfortably. You could be really comfortable without a lot of stuff, like a lot of stuff. We all could probably live with like 10% of everything that we own and still be really comfortable, or decently comfortable. We just, we wouldn't have a lot of the things that we're used to having, that we feel we need to have. I'm totally guilty of this, by the way. I'm totally guilty of wanting and needing all the things and thinking that I should just have them because, they're out there. I mean, half the things, actually more than half, like 80% of the things I own are like, reused or recycled or whatever. Like, I don't really buy a lot of new clothes. I buy mostly thrift shop stuff. Whenever I buy something, I try to get something that's used. My dog was not a puppy that I bought from a kennel, or not a kennel, but you know what I'm saying, a puppy mill, a breeder. I got my dog from, it's a rescue dog. That dog was already out in the world. I don't know if that makes it any better or not. I'm not sure. But anyways, you understand my point. We have a lot to unlearn, is all I'm trying to say. That's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. I'm going to get more lights. I don't want to be too bright, but just maybe a little bit brighter. Until next time, peace.